Number 11. Maddie. When it comes to the character of Maddie, I can really think of no one better that encapsulates all the problems with Arcane. She's brought into the story randomly, and she doesn't have a satisfying setup or payoff. She essentially has no personality besides being somewhat perky and nice.
How dare you! She's a nice lady!
It's evident that Maddie really has only two functions in the story. A, to create drama between Caitlyn and Vi, and B, to have a shocking betrayal in the last episode. Okay, so when it comes to the love triangle between Vi, Caitlyn, and Maddie, there really isn't any substance to it. When we first meet Maddie, there is no foreshadowing or suggestion of a romantic relationship between her and Caitlyn. We don't see any longing glances, or built-up tension, or even a scene where Maddie seems to be winning Caitlyn's affection. Hell, I think they only speak like once in passing in the first act.
Sorry, Commander.
Oh, it's so romantic.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Like this guy, I already forgot his name, and the green dude, who never speaks, Maddie is just in the background of all these scenes with the strike team. Maddie herself adds nothing to the dynamic of the team, so she is essentially a non-entity for all of Act 1. So when we see this scene at the beginning of Act 2, we are not only surprised that Caitlyn would choose to be with someone other than Vi, but that this relationship happened at all. There's no build up to it, so it really just happens out of nowhere. You see, the audience likes it when there's foreshadowing or some kind of setup for plot lines like these, as it stops us from questioning why something is happening in the story. So having Maddie just pop into this romance with Caitlyn doesn't feel right because there's no established attraction. Really, you could have anyone in this bed with Caitlyn and it would have the same impact. Why not the big guy or the green dude? Or Jace, or Echo, or Heimerdinger?
Pish-posh like you've never done it.
Caitlyn has had as much romantic tension with any of these characters as she has had with Maddie. And when it comes to the payoff for this romance, there is none. By the time Caitlyn is betrayed by Maddie, she has already gotten back together with Vi and has completely pushed Maddie to the side. This happens on its own without Maddie actually doing anything to spite Caitlyn or make her feel entangled from their relationship. Caitlyn seems to just get tired of Maddie without any real cause, which shows how meaningless their relationship was in the first place. Caitlyn doesn't seem to care about Maddie's feelings, and it even seems like she's annoyed by her.
You can't blame yourself.
I don't need consolation. I need a plan.
She doesn't even take the time to properly end their relationship, and she just goes off and sleeps with Vi. Maddie, of course, doesn't care because she's been secretly working against Caitlyn the whole time, so neither character actually seems to give a shit about this relationship. And of course, Vi doesn't care either.
Listen, while you were gone, I saw someone.
Kate. I don't fucking care.
So that's great. We have this random romance that is inserted into the plot with the sole purpose of shocking the audience, only for it to have no impact on the characters who are actually involved. Would it have not been more interesting if this romantic entanglement actually had some consequences? What if Caitlyn and Maddie actually grew to have some feelings for each other, and we see them both struggle with their duties because of it? Maddie could feel conflicted about her loyalties to Mbessa because of her love for Caitlyn. Caitlyn, on the other hand, could feel estranged from Vi because she has somewhat moved on from their romance due to Maddie's influence. And of course, Vi could have had some backbone and actually have had a negative reaction when she finds out that Caitlyn has been with someone else after fucking betraying her. You know, some actual consequences for the characters and their actions.
Consequences? That's it, okay, everybody go.
Now this brings us to Maddie's second problem, which is the big reveal. Like her relationship with Caitlyn, this betrayal by Maddie also has no setup or foreshadowing. She just goes from being the good guy to working for Mbessa. Sure, there is a scene where Maddie is spying on Vi and Caitlyn, but that more leans towards her feeling pushed aside by Vi rather than being a double agent. I mean, I guess this is some bit of foreshadowing, but it also raises another problem with Maddie's character, that she makes no goddamn sense. Having her be a secret agent for Mbessa is so mind-boggling and stupid that it makes me wonder if anyone making this show ever wrote anything besides the first draft. Like, how long was Maddie working for Mbessa? Was she always a spy, or was she recruited sometime after becoming an enforcer? If she was always a spy, then why did Mbessa make her a low-level cop? I mean, it's pretty lucky that Maddie just happened to cozy up to Vi and Caitlin right before the strike team was created, which also just happened to be the catalyst for Caitlin becoming Piltover's dictator. I mean, it's pretty unlikely that Mbessa would have supported one of her best spies randomly becoming friends with Vi and Caitlin, who at this point haven't become major political players in Piltover. Wouldn't Mbessa have a mole who was closer to the bigger political forces in the city? Like the council or the scientists? Like Victor's assistant, she would have been a great way to keep tabs on what was going on with Hextech, which seems to be Mbessa's main interest. So what is Maddie reporting back to the Noxians that is of any value? As an average enforcer, there really isn't much of a way for Maddie to naturally grow into a position of power that can help Mbessa influence the city the way she wants to. So if Maddie was recruited after becoming an enforcer, which seems more likely, then why did she switch sides? When we meet Maddie, she's a bright-eyed Girl Scout character that wants to help her city. Then she joins the strike force and apparently helps to completely dismantle Shimmer and the Chem Barons. So at what point did she become jaded enough to completely turn against Piltover and Caitlin? Was it because of Caitlin's leadership? Her actions? Her love for Vi? I don't know. And I don't think the writers do either. We never see Maddie act with any consistency as a spy.
You could call it off. Withdraw from the underground. Re-establish the council. All you have to do is give the order. This doesn't have to change what we talked about this morning. You can still...
Officer Nolan!
Why is she telling Caitlin to pull out of Zaun when Mbessa wants the war to continue? I mean, she brings this up more than once, like she's really trying to talk Caitlin out of it. She even tries to convince Caitlin to give up her role as dictator, when that goes against everything that Mbessa has been trying to accomplish. So what kind of double agent is Maddie?
Subject is not approved for field duty and immediate suspension from service advised. What is this if not betrayal?
So let's come back to this great scene of foreshadowing.
I suppose I don't need to advise you on the hazards of professional entanglement. I warned you of the hazards of professional entanglement.
Why would Mbessa caution Caitlin about having Maddie as her partner if that is her double agent? How does this serve Mbessa at all? What if Caitlin had listened to either of these characters? What if she was like, yeah, you're right, Maddie. I will pull out of Zaun. There is no need for any more violence. I'll tell Mbessa and the Noxians to leave. Or what if she had taken Mbessa's advice and broke up with Maddie? Mbessa is both a mother figure and a mentor to Caitlin. So it's not crazy for this suggestion to work. The point is that these characters are foolishly pushing Caitlin into a direction that goes against their own political aims. The annoying thing about all of this is that this whole plotline is for a betrayal that comes off as tacky and random rather than a dramatic reveal. We don't know who Maddie is or what she really wants, so it doesn't really matter what she does. Had the writers done more to set up and foreshadow Maddie's real alliances, then she would have played a much more dynamic role in the story. How about instead of being off to the side in the strike team, Maddie starts creating a wedge between Vi and Caitlin. She could feed Caitlin's need for revenge, while also attempting to seduce her. Then, when Maddie has gotten Vi out of the way, she further manipulates Caitlin into continuing the occupation of Zaun and pushing her to keep her power. Simple changes like these would go far in telling a more clear and solid story with a character that feels more grounded and understandable. Number 12. Everything sucks. Well, after going through and dissecting most of the main characters in Arcane, I have come to the conclusion that one of the biggest victims of the horrible writing in this season is the main locations, Piltover and Zaun. In Season 1, the city really feels like its own character, as each side had a unique and interesting style. Piltover was a symbol of grandeur with its ornate buildings and high-minded institutions, while Zaun was more gritty, industrial, and impoverished. We saw the landscape change and grow as the characters made new technological wonders that brought wealth to Piltover, while also making the class division much more dramatic. This personality was very striking and really resonated with the audience. we came to recognize specific locations and got a feel for where everything was. The writers really gave us a solid understanding of the two cultures and how they interacted with each other. It made us see both the good and the bad of each side of the city. This really helped to set up the tone of the coming conflict between these two sides. It also made the world feel lived in and deepened the sense of identity that became such a big part of the story. But in Season 2, we lose all of these qualities. While yes, the visuals are fantastic and the artists do their best with what the script provides for them, but it still fails to capture the clear presence of the city's society. The depth and culture of both Zaun and Piltover is completely reduced to a shallow representation of what we had seen before. The Chembarons that had played such a significant role in Zaun's politics in Season 1 were removed off screen, or in a montage if that really counts. And in Piltover, the council was treated with almost the same level of disregard when they just hand over their political power to Mbessa. For some reason, allowing her to decide that Caitlyn should be the dictator of the city. Decisions like these make the world feel weak and malleable, being forced to be whatever the writers needed for that part of their script. I mean, sure, the council has been fractured after Jinx's attack, as well as being weakened by both Mel and Jace's disappearance. But it's ridiculous that they would just give up their power to some enforcer. I know Caitlyn is a capable person and all, but really? Not only is Sallow and this robot chick totally allowing this to happen, but all of the noble families of the city are also on board with the idea. Surely there would be some level of jealousy from the other houses, due to the Kiermans being given such an extreme role. Wouldn't the solution just be to immediately elect new members to the council from the other noble families? There would be procedures and protocols in place to account for this kind of situation. I mean, I bet if a character looked through Piltover's written laws, I doubt it would say, if only 2 counselors remain in power, then please allow a foreign queen to elect an enforcer to the position of supreme commander of the city. Shouldn't everyone in this room be telling Mbessa to fuck off? Why are they giving her a voice in this meeting at all? Does anyone in this room have a fucking brain? They are allowing their own birthright to be stripped from them, despite having every reason to try to gain their own kind of power in the council.
See, now that's some bullshit.
Whatever. Just let some foreign dictator seize power in your city for no reason. I'm sure she doesn't have her own political agenda, or is in any way trying to manipulate all of you.
All right, I confess. I did it, you hear? And I'm glad. Glad, I tell ya!
Or how about Shimmer? This was a drug that played a serious role in Zaun. It was both an economic resource for the Chembarons that ruled the lanes, while also being a very destructive substance that ruined the lives of the people who were addicted to it. Like we discussed before, it was a counterpoint to Hextech, and it provided Zaun with its own form of chemical weapons. This important dynamic is completely gutted in Season 2 as all of the Shimmer production is taken up by Caitlyn and her strike team. We see all of the addiction disappear, as well as Zaun's ability to produce Shimmer, all because of 5 people. Yeah, that seems realistic.
You won't make it alone.
A few moments later.
Actually, it's gonna be super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Oh, really?
Sure, we see Victor healing some of the addicts, but in doing this, the writers strip Zaun of an interesting moral dilemma. Do they keep making Shimmer in order to compete with Piltover, or do they stop its production and fall behind? With the Council, the Chembarons, and Shimmer being taken out of the story, it makes Piltover seem less of its own entity. All of the world building that Season 1 had led to is tossed aside for other cheap plot lines that are far less compelling. It's quite obvious in hindsight that the writers of this season wanted to take pretty much everything that was set up in Season 1 and toss it out the window. They rewrote every character and their motivations, and they even rewrote the setting of the show. This isn't Piltover and Zaun, it's a poor man's imitation of it. It may look the same, kind of, but it's not. It's like trying to go shopping at Whole Foods, only to find out that it's a Walmart. And if you're from the UK and you didn't understand the shopping metaphor I just made, then I'll give you another one. Imagine you're on Tinder and you match with a beautiful Spanish woman, but when you show up for the date, you find out she's from bloody Andover. This is all very reminiscent of the Star Wars sequels in a way. In the first edition, you have an established story that has a clear trajectory, with understandable motivations and characters. But for the sequel, the studio decided to hire a retard who believed in defying the viewer's expectations, and thought that flipping every plot point on its head was somehow mind-bending storytelling.
That's great.
Oh, you think that Arcane is about a war between Piltover and Zaun? Nope. It's about garbled, high-minded philosophy on evolution or some crap. You think that Jinx is going to be the new bad guy? No, it's the Noxians and Victor. You think that Arcane Season 2 is going to be good?
Well, you know the old expression. Nope.
Now, I'm sorry for comparing Arcane to the Star Wars sequels. That was low of me. I'm sorry, Arcane. I shouldn't have said that about you. But the point still stands. Now, you can enjoy what the creators of this show have made, and that's fine, I guess. But you can't pretend that this is what the original writers had in mind when they started the series. It's clear from analyzing the story that the writers of Season 2 didn't really care what had been established in Season 1. They wanted to ride off the back of greatness, to tell some garbled mess, and to be blindly praised for it.